So imagine you wake up one morning in your Austrian palace, put on your nicest plumed hat, give your wife a peck on the cheek and say, "Darling, let's take a leisurely drive through a city full of people who absolutely hate us." That, ladies and gentlemen, is the 1914 energy Archduke Franz Ferdinand brought into Sarajevo. Spoiler alert, it did not go well. Now let's back it up a bit. Who even was Franz Ferdinand, besides sounding like either a Bond villain or an indie rock band? He was the heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which was basically the awkward group project of Europe. You had Austrians, Hungarians, Czechs, Slovaks, Croats, Serbs, and every other Central European ethnicity jammed together under one imperial umbrella, and nobody was thrilled about it. Franz himself was a complicated guy. On the one hand, he was kind of progressive. He wanted to grant more autonomy to Slavic peoples in the empire. On the other hand, he was also an elitist grump with a talent for offending just about everyone, including the emperor. But he loved his wife, Sophie, who wasn't noble enough for the court's liking. Naturally, they treated her like she'd crashed the royal party wearing Crocs. So the only time they were allowed to appear together in public, official state visits. Romance, but make it geopolitically charged. Enter Sarajevo, Bosnia. A lovely city that had recently been snatched from the Ottoman Empire and handed over to Austria-Hungary, like a suspiciously ticking birthday gift. The locals, especially the Serb nationalists, were not sending fruit baskets. Instead, they sent assassins. Now, when I say assassins, don't imagine slick James Bond types. Picture a bunch of teenagers with guns they didn't know how to use, and one guy who literally forgot to check if his bomb would bounce. That's the Black Hand, Serbia's most chaotic, unofficial, oops, we started World War I club. Their goal, kill Franz Ferdinand and send a big, bloody message to the empire. So, it's June 28th, 1914. The Archduke and Sophie are in Sarajevo, riding in an open-top car like they're on a victory lap through enemy territory. Excellent idea. The motorcade drives down Appel Quay, which sounds like a charming cafe, but is actually a death trap with a river on one side and assassins on the other. Assassin number 1 sees the car, gets nervous, and does absolutely nothing. Assassin number 2 throws a bomb, but misses. It bounces off the folded-down roof, rolls under the next car, and explodes behind the Archduke's vehicle. Classic right guy, wrong car situation. Franz is shaken, Sophie is fine, and the driver floors it to safety. The injured in the trailing car are rushed to the hospital, while the would-be assassins scatter like badly trained extras in a spy film. At this point, anyone with survival instincts would leave Sarajevo, cancel lunch, and maybe rethink driving through hostile territory. But not Franz. Oh no. He decides to visit the hospital to check on the wounded. Noble, sweet, disastrous. The route gets changed at the last minute, but the driver doesn't get the memo, so they take a wrong turn. Right into the street where one of the failed assassins, Gavrilo Princip, is standing around sulking and eating a sandwich. That's not a joke. The guy missed his shot earlier and was literally at a deli, thinking the day was a bust. And then fate delivers the Archduke to him like Uber Eats. So Gavrilo pulls out his pistol and fires 2 shots. One hits Franz in the neck, the other hits Sophie in the stomach. She reportedly cried out, "For God's sake, what's happened to you?" and then collapsed. Franz, bleeding out, trying to act like the big, brave husband, just kept repeating, "Sophie, Sophie, don't die. Stay alive for the children." Tragically, Neither of them did. And this is the part where the butterfly flaps its wings and half the world catches fire. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia. Serbia denied involvement, but also kind of winked. Russia mobilized. Germany backed Austria. France backed Russia. Britain sighed and joined in. And by the end of July, everyone was declaring war like Oprah handing out cars. So yes, World War I was sparked by a moody teen with a gun, a car with no roof, and a driver who really should have asked for directions. But behind all that, you had decades of nationalism, empire building, political alliances, and mustache-twirling generals just waiting for an excuse to let the powder keg explode. And Franz Ferdinand. History remembers him not for his policies or his efforts at reform, or even for his tragically dramatic love story, but for being the guy whose terrible road trip kicked off the deadliest war the world had seen. So the next time your GPS sends you the wrong way, be thankful you're not the heir to a crumbling empire being stalked by teenage anarchists with sandwiches. You're welcome.